Hey guys, welcome back to the second official episode of the Pink Corner podcast. I've been enjoying the feedback and insight from all of my, UFC fight breakdowns, but today we have a special guest here. With me, I have Erin Toughill. She is one of the pioneers of women's MMA, women's boxing, longtime boxing coach. She's actually my first boxing coach ever when I was 16. She is now a matchmaker for boxing and MMA. So without further ado, here is Erin Toughill.
Thank you for having me. That was a great intro.
So tell me a little bit. Well, I know about yourself, but tell everyone who's watching a little bit about you.
Wow.
Like a little intro.
Well, talk about how, like, when we were just talking a few minutes ago, like, introduce that more. So
when I first started training, I was 16 and I didn't have any striking ability. I have the basis. I was very coachable. I was very athletic.
You were a good kickboxer. You were a good kickboxer.
Yes, but not a good boxer.
Right.
Especially my straight right. I feel like it's come a long way. But I went to Erin because everyone around me was telling me, like, that's going to be the best coach you'll get. One of the few women at the time too.
Because I used to train at Eric Paulson's, right? Years ago. So and I'm still very cool with all those guys.
Yeah.
And I remember because I was training like a grown woman at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I hit up Eric and I was like, I got this girl who wants to do MMA. He's like, yeah, come to the Tuesday, Thursday classes, and I'd roll in there every now and then. And so I brought this adult in there and this teenager whooped her ass like 6 ways to Sunday. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
I actually forgot about that.
That
was a long time
That's
ago.
how we met.
That was the first time we met. Yeah.
That's how we met. So like Jamie, all those guys were there, right?
Yeah.
Josh was there at the time still. And I'm like, this is incredible, right? And I'm like going, get up, like do something. And then you had reached out to me. I don't know if I brought her there again.
I don't think so. I think it was one time.
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, let's work on your other stuff. I'll go to your wrestling or whatever. Squeakerton. Yeah. And then I remember you reached out to me a couple weeks later, and I said, as long as like Eric is cool with it, and that's really how
they actually encouraged me to go to you.
They've always been really, and I appreciate that. So. Yeah.
But that's how we met. So she's my first boxing coach. So I've known Erin my whole MMA career. So we go way back. She's a day one. Yeah. But she was one of the pioneers of women's MMA. And I think there's a lot of women behind the scenes. Obviously, Ronda was like the face of everyone. But I think there's a lot of women, like even before Ronda's time, that were running shit in MMA. And you guys don't get that credit or that like, just the credit, I guess, for being a woman in a male-dominated space. Obviously, it's a lot different now, I just posted a picture today about my gym, and there's literally like 10 plus girls on the mats.
Incredible.
And that seemed unheard of when were. How did you have any women training partners that?
When I first started, this is so like we talk about, I'll be 47 in June. So I started training like jiu-jitsu when I'm 17, 18 years old. And then I started going into MMA, maybe like 20 or something. I just kind of went back and forth. And when you were training back then, if they were on my, first of all, I'm like a rookie back then, right? I don't know shit.
Yeah.
But there was very few women that did it. So it's not like there was 10 women in our gym. We'd have to travel or I'd have to go to somebody. But tell you, 99% of the time, I was fighting men. I was training with men. Yeah. And so part of this is why, I had a tough upbringing too. Mm-hmm. And then I had an older brother, that'll beat the shit out of you. So that make you tough. But when you're training with all men, and this is, in the late 90s, early 2000s and beyond, where it was like, I try to I know it's hard to explain when you're not there. You get it a little more because you're like an old soul, but there's not social media, there's not cameras, there's not like sexual harassment.
Authentic hard work. Yeah.
Right. There's not I dealt with a lot of shit, you know what I mean? And I'd have had guys that tried to beat the living shit out of me. Yeah. So I wouldn't come back to the gym or like.
Fun fact, Erin I have got punched by hundreds of men training. Erin has hit me the hardest I have ever fucking been hit in my life. It's true. Remember when we used to spar when I was like 16?
Yeah. But I wasn't trying to hurt you. No.
But like, you're very technical too, though. Yeah. Like it wasn't just because you weren't going hard. But it's just your athleticism and your years of boxing. But that was just like a little side note. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I literally was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, I remember like I got hit by Erin and I was like, so this is fighting. Like this is fighting, you know? Because I went to CSW and like I got thrown into the pro class right away.
Yes.
So like I was getting hit already, you know? I was getting hit. And I remember when I used to spar Kylan Curran, he used to come with me, but
that's right.
we sparred before that. And I remember that I was like, okay, like if I'm going to fight, like I have to get comfortable getting hit like this. Like, obviously, no 115er is going to hit me the way you hit me. But if I'm comfortable getting hit by you or these other people, then I'm going to be fine
You're gonna
in the
be
cage,
fine.
you know? So I remember that was like an important lesson for me. I was like, all right, like this is actual fighting. Like, none of this pad work or like this, like mixed mitt work's always fun. Like, and even over time, like I still love mitt work. I do mitt work all the time. But like sparring and getting used to getting hit and reacting to getting hit is like so important.
And you build on that, you know, and it's any of the people that I train that are new, it's like the same thing, you know. I don't really spar with like the fighters that I train. But, you know, I mean, I'm fucking old school. So that's the biggest thing. Come here.
This is Squeaker 10.
Squeaker 10, I know. She's like, what's happening? But I mean, we talk about this. It's like, you know, you remind me a lot of me, right? So, and that's why I clicked with you. You were very hardworking, humble. You did what the fuck I told you to do. You know what I mean? And without
you know what you're talking about. I know.
Right, so. But you know, we'd see this. It's like the fighter thinks that they're running the show. Okay, then what do you need me for?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we grew up in sports. You know what I mean? I grew up in an athletic background. Was playing soccer, softball, everything from the time I was 4. I know what coaching is. Yeah. I can be coached. I'm coachable. My dad was a coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's that's the key in fighting. Some people, I mean, I've seen all kinds. It doesn't mean, even if you're not the most athletic or the most gifted, whatever, it's like, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I've seen so many
talented people that are so uncoachable, and I'm like,
absolutely,
you're never going to make it as far as you could make it because you have like, it's like an ego. It's like an ego. Do you think it's an ego thing?
And that's their journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I come from the old school where it's like, you know, we work hard.
Yeah.
And you get a pat on the back every now and then, and it's like, okay, you're doing good, you need something, whatever. But it's like, man, you know, I was in the trenches, right? Yeah. And it's like I sparred all men through my whole career, and even up to this point. And I tell these kids, I'm like, think about this. Like, I've sparred tens of thousands of rounds.
Yeah.
I've had 31 pro fights.
Yeah.
And that's not including the ones that like either I got injured or someone pulled out of, or like I would probably have close to 45 fights maybe. Yeah. And I don't. But I mean, I trained for all of those scenarios, all of those narratives, instances, everything. And I train any of my coaches that have ever trained with me. It's like, even at Eric's, it was like women, you know, they stopped letting women in there, right? Yeah. And I was the only woman.
Even when I was there was a couple women here and there,
right?
But especially in the beginning,
they closed it down, right, years ago, because it was like mid 2000s when I was training there, and I was the only woman that was allowed in there because I went to train.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. I was like one of the dudes. I wasn't in there taking pictures and trying to, you know, get ran through like some of these chicks. It's like I take my job really seriously.
Yeah, it's business.
And that's why I have the respect that I do. Yeah. Over all of this time that I've been in the sport, you know, it's and you're the same way. It's like I've carried myself with respect. Yeah. And
head down and work.
And I just work. Yeah. And I let my work speak for itself. Yeah. And that's just something it's a missing thing today where, you know, I understand, I see the difference. I've been around, so I've seen the evolution. And I mean, but back then it's like when you were fighting 90s and the women who were before me, right? Like Christy Martin, who I've been able to work with, and other women in Japan. It's like they paved the way too. So I know what they had to go through, and we just had to work. So, you know, I've always trained with men, and there's something to be said about that. Now it's like there's when you would last back then, right? If you came up the way that I did, you would last. Yeah. But a lot of, I'd say, you know, good 85% of the women and men, don't get it twisted. This is like men too.
Yeah. I think it's more of a mentality. It's not like male female. It's mentality.
Right. It's a mentality. Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of really tough women out there. I think there's, you know, the women in the UFC, they're like, to get there, you got to be tough, right? There's no doubt about it. But, you know, there's certain levels,
100%,
certain levels, and you're going to be exposed.
Yeah.
So if you get to that level, you're a dog, right? You're a real dog.
100%.
But if you're at the beginning level and you don't last because it's not in you, right? You're not that dog, or you're fighting for a different reason. So back then, Squeakerton, when we were fighting, come here. There wasn't, I mean, I'm sorry, but what do you want? It's like, there wasn't, you know, sponsorships and TV deals and all these things.
For the pure love of the fucking game.
We were crazy. We were crazy. I mean, I fought 3 times in one night.
Issues.
Almost all fighters are wild. Real.
I always say that. I always say if you are like willingly
real
and I think there's fighters who do it as like a sport and like are okay in the head.
Sure.
But I think if you're like most fighters I know that like enjoy fighting and love fighting.
Yeah, I love it.
We have issues for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, and I acknowledge them. Like,
right.
You know, I'm not like delusional. Like, I'm self-aware.
Totally,
you know?
crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it's in a good way. You know what I mean? I think
at
it's
least we're using it in a good manner.
productive. Because I'm the type of person where it's like, if I didn't find this, it was, there's not a lot of options for somebody like me. Did you grow up
always having, because I've known you to always be so outspoken. You have such thick skin. Have you always been that way? Did fighting make you that way? Is it like a mixture of both? Like, I know you mentioned you had a brother growing up, so I'm sure you were raised tough, but
a combination
personality
of
too.
Yeah, a lot of things. You know what I mean? I think sometimes where, you know, my mom was like, "You came out," so it's like I think some of the things are in your blood.
100%,
I think it's you're born with that warrior spirit, and then of course there's environments that because there's very like docile, quiet people that when they get in that ring, they fucking turn it on and they're a different person.
Yeah,
and you have those type of people. I mean, it can be a couple different things, and then you know we grow up a certain way, and trauma affects us, and it shapes you, and then you use that to it can go again one way or the other. And
I always think that
it's
I'm
true.
like, I could ended up a meth head on Skid Row easily, but it's like you choose. What, you know, you're like, do I funnel it into this or do I funnel it into that?
But and that's a learning experience, you know. It's like when we're going through these trials and tribulations and adversity. Yeah. It's like when I started fighting, I had no intention of, first of all, I didn't know that a career was happening. Yeah. This is a better way to say it. It was like we were fucking crazy and we were going to Japan and fighting here and fighting there. And then we started boxing and it was like, I never thought it was going to turn into this. It did. Yeah. You know, when I started training both sports and doing this, and I just wanted to fight and all the things that came along for me later in the late 2000s when I was like at my peak and stuff was a byproduct of the hard work that I put in for fucking 10 years, 8 years before that. And
I mean, you're still earning opportunities that hard work
from
back then.
That's how I got this job. But it's like we talk about, you know, I mean, and I've been very vocal with this too, where it's like people go, well, why, you know, you came back to fight, and I did. I had a long layoff, but it was like, what happened? Why'd you retire? I mean, something where this is a lot of athletes go through, you know, injuries and losing their way and death and trauma and all kinds of things. And, you know, at one point, I think this was 2009, and I was living with Neil Melanson, who is a very popular, he's a catch wrestler, right? Yeah. Scary guy. Anyway, and we were married and I lived in Vegas with him. He was training, he trained Vidor, he's trained everybody. And at that time I was signed to Strike Force. I got a fight, I think it was a 5-fight deal. And this is like 2008 or 9. Shannon Knapp. Yeah. Was
OG Shannon Knapp. Shout out to Shannon Knapp.
A shout out to Shannon.
Still doing her thing.
Still doing her thing, right? She's a tough lady. You got to be tough if you're in the sport for as long as we have been. And it was like one of the 5th highest paid contracts, male or female, at that time. So I was ranked number 1 at 155. Like they have now, they have like real rankings now, but I mean back then it was like the ESPN rankings, right? Yeah, they take everybody's who they think is top of the top, right? And so I was 155. And I was number 2 at 145. So Cyborg was above me, right? And I was number 2. And that's why I got down to that weight, because everybody was like, you can't do it. And I was like, fucking watch me. And I did. And I was fighting for PFC, which was really cool. The WEC was there and whatever. And I got that contract. And during that time, it was like a couple years in between that, I was struggling with a really bad pain pill addiction. So I was addicted to Norco. And at one point, like I've done interviews, there's things on my account about it, but it was like at the end of I was taking 30 a day.
Damn.
So
was it from an injury?
It was, it was from an injury. It originally started an injury like 2006 or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of unhealed trauma.
Yeah.
And so, my sister died in a car accident in 2004. I fought a month after that and won a title in boxing. My dad died like a year later from cancer. And through this whole fucking year and a half, I went through a horrible divorce.
Yeah.
My first marriage. And Megan died. My dad died. And I kept fighting.
Yeah.
Like right after Megan, and then I did another. For me
personally, when I was going through like my worst traumas, like I was still actively fighting, and for me it was a distraction.
Well, because I checked out.
Yeah, it gives you something else to focus on. You're like, okay, well I don't got to deal with this if I'm fighting. Like,
and I was checked out anyway, and then I got on that, and it was like, okay, now I really don't feel anything, right? And so it was easy.
Yeah.
And I could just function and do what I needed to do, and then, it'll eventually catch up with you. Yeah. And but yeah, I think within that year, I fought 3 times in Japan, like a month after that. Then I fought Layla a few months after that. So it's like, it's crazy. I don't even know how I got through it, but it's, my story, our story, it's like, my story is like many other people's. Yeah. I just choose to now, because I'm healed with it.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work on myself to get through all of that. Yeah. Now I can speak like authentically about it and be transparent about
like you're not
it.
in the middle of it as you're speaking about it.
Yeah, because I'm complete with it, and I fucking destroyed my life. Yeah. And, but I destroyed that contract, right? I pulled out, people are like, oh, your Wikipedia, there's like fucking 8 fights, 10 fights. I'm like, because I was a drug addict. Yeah. I'm like, I would have never, I would have never, some of those fights I wouldn't have even made it to because I was so fucked up.
Yeah.
And then there were some fights, like if they were testing, I was not going to pass the drug test. Yeah. And then I had one more fight on an Indian reservation. They weren't testing.
Oh, they let you do anything you want on those reservations.
And I was on to kill somebody, right? And me and my coach were out there, and he knew I was going through it. And I was like, after the weigh-in, so I'm like, you need to take me to this pharmacy. I have to go get this. He's like, fuck, Erin, are you going to make it to the fight? I'm like, if we don't get there, I'm not going to make it to the fight.
Yeah.
But I was so... I'm like, I better take this fight or my career is over, right? Yeah. My career was over. Yeah. My career was over. I had done gladiators. I was fucked up then, and I got through a lot of really big things during this time.
And that's crazy. I always say that is like, and I feel like social media now it makes it even more apparent where you can be on someone's social media and you can see them, post all the good things and that, but you literally never know what anyone is going through behind the scenes. Yeah. You could have the best moments of your career when you're like the most fucked up, the most unhealed, like the worst point in your life is the highlight of your career. And it's so crazy how a lot of people don't know that. And then people always have an opinion on things. And I'm like, bro, if you only knew what I was going through, like, I'm proud of myself. You know what I mean? But
then you'll get to the point it doesn't matter what people think. Yeah. And...
At what point was that for you? I feel like you never cared. Did you care at one point?
I did care. Oh. At one point in my 20s, like my late 20s, probably early 30s, I was even though I was because I've always been like this. I've always been a straight shooter, and anybody who's outspoken, anyone who knows me knows I'm real. You know what I mean? But I used to be very concerned what people would think. Yeah. I couldn't do this. Like there were other opportunities, maybe in fighting or maybe not fighting. But there were things that came along, right? Yeah. And I was like, I was very concerned with my image. And it ran me. Yeah. And I was very concerned. I used to make a lot of money, right? And I had a lot of nice material things. And it ran me. Yeah. And then, later on when you lose everything and it's like, I lost my $80,000 car, I lost my husband, I lost my condo I was going to buy, I was homeless at one point. It's like, man, if you could just, in getting through your addiction, it's like, you just give me another day. Let me just try to get through this. Got help. Yeah. And took a lot of time off and had to heal. And just find my way again, find who I was. Because I didn't, when you stop fighting and if you lose it, depending on how you lose it, you're like, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, I'm
me.
only 24, but for me, I haven't fought, it's been almost 2 years. And the reason I have been like taking this time off is for those healing purposes. I fought, like, if you look at like my track record of fighting, it's like, I don't have the best record, but I've always fought the best people. I've never turned any fights down. Like, I've always fought high level, and I never regret any fights. I never regret taking any fights. It got me to where I am now. But I used to fight like 4 times a year. Sometimes I would fight like back to like 3 weeks apart. And like no camps, no prep, like unhealthy, because I was going through so many things that I was like fight. And I even, my last 2 UFC fights were like, I literally signed my next contract the week. Like, I fought on Saturday, and by Monday I had my next contract signed, and like a month and a half later I was fighting. And it's like, I was like, I just can't keep continuing these patterns. And I'm like, I can't, I'm only 24 and I still want to fight, and I love the fight game. But it is a short-lived sport. You know what I mean? Your body can only go for so long, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. And it's like, I need to make sure I'm good. Like, am I good? Like, who am I? Like, I'm a fighter, of course, but it's like, who am I? Like, what do I need to heal from? Like, who, you know what I mean? That there's so many, like I know it sounds like so like not hippie, but like who am I? Like,
well, I was just saying that. I was just saying that.
I don't know who I am.
I was saying that in my early 30s, right?
Yeah.
Like, who was I? And so you had asked, like, digressing, you asked a question earlier, like, when did you go, this is the woman that you are, right? Like, owning everything. And when I stopped really, like, fucking caring, I think I was probably 35, 36. So, like, when I see the young kids, and yes, I'm a woman. I'm a grown-ass woman, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're a woman. You're a young woman. You're going to go through the time right now to where in a couple of years you're going to be different, 27 to 30. You're evolving, and you're going to just, as long as you stay on that healing path, right? Yeah. This is important for people to hear this.
100%. Yeah.
You'll grow into exactly the person that you're meant to be.
Yeah. And I think it was hard too, because I made my pro debut with Invicta. So I feel like I had a platform ever since I grew up in front of everyone. And even like I was 20 when I made my UFC debut. And it's like most people don't really know what they're doing at 20. And it's like, I'm no different. Like, I mean, I knew I wanted to fight, and I knew what I was good at, and I loved it. But it's like, I feel like I grew up in front of everybody, and it's hard growing up in front of everybody on a stage where it's like people want to comment on things that they don't even know about. And it's like, okay, like taking a step back and being like, hey, who am I? Like, what do I like? What do I, and I still love fighting, and I still want to fight, but it's like, I think that time is so important to like know who you are and to heal those parts of you, you know?
And the more you heal, then you're going to find out who you are. You know what I mean? But it's like the fighting is a very healing, cathartic part for people like us, because not everybody is going to go to therapy, right? And I think that's a really constructive and incredible tool, right? Because I did that, and I would still go. I need to go back. It's a really, you know, when you're under high pressure, high stress, anything in life, it's really good that you can have like that third person that just kind of like, oh, okay, but not everybody is going to do that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there are different methods for everybody too.
For everybody,
therapy might not work for some people. You know what I mean? But
whatever works, whatever
floats your boat, whatever. And
fighting is therapy for people like us. You know what I mean? So we need it. And there's people who maybe aren't going to fight, but the community, the camaraderie, it's like there's a lot of things that go into that. It's like, that's how you guys met. You know what I mean? There's a lot of really incredible. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Yeah, it really is.
The sport, you know
like
what I mean?
Those adrenal dumps. Oh my, adrenal dumps are the worst. The like post-fight blues are always the worst for me. I don't know about you, but like the come down off adrenaline, like the next day after a fight, whether I win or lose, I'm like so depressed. I don't know what it is. I think it's because like you have like a fight camp, and like it's all this build up, and then like
you're
you
an
just
addict.
Crash.
Because you're an addict. You're addicted.
Hi, my name is Kay Hansen.
Okay, and I'm a fucking addict. But those are people like us, right? It's like we're extreme. Yeah. And we do things on the extreme. Yeah. And then the low, you know, you're gonna vacillate. So the older you get, you're gonna understand how to manage that. Yeah. I can manage it. Yeah. So when I came back to fight, it was like I did it because I wanted to, and I'm crazy, and I did MMA, you know, I did boxing and bare knuckle for the fun of it. Yeah. That tells you all you need to know. What person does it for the fun of it? That tells you all you need to know. Right? That's all you need to know. I came back and I did bare knuckle for fun, okay? To like just have fun and test myself, and I was like, yeah.
At what point did you fight and coach at the same time, or did you transition or
Yeah.
How was that like? Did you just have a couple people approach you, or did you always want to be a coach? Did you have a passion for it? Like, how did that
I first
start?
started coaching, like my first fighter was Rob McCullough back in 2006, because we all trained, like, I mean, I've been around, like I've trained with Colin, but we all trained together at certain points too, right? So it was like Southern California.
Yeah, like all the coaches now were fighters when you were fighting.
Yeah, and they were very now things are a little more separate,
No, they are. I
think.
It gets a little weird sometimes,
Right. And so even, I trained with Colin Oyama, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I mean, I was at LA Boxing too with Sean McCulley and all those guys, but they were cool. Like if you went to other places, it wasn't, Colin never cornered me.
Yeah.
Eric never cornered me. You know what I mean?
But you trained at their gyms
we
all the time.
We trained at their places and no one gave a shit. Yeah. And Sean would corner me, and then I'd have different people for boxing that would evolve into something else. But it was like, and me and Rob, I was like the only girl on Team Punishment at one point in like 2005 and 2006. And then I would go to CSW and train with those guys. So it was like, and all those coaches I'm still really cool with.
What do you think is
But Rob was my first fighter.
Yeah,
Rob was my first fighter. And we did really well.
Yeah, and then after that you just started coaching more and more.
And then we things went their separate ways. And then I think I was probably like I got married. And then things went kind of, and then I was like, I'm married. And then I was still fighting. And then I divorced him, and then I got married again, right? A little bit later. So, like, my 20s were wild, and I always did, I don't know, I just did what I wanted to do. So
did my own thing.
I did my own thing. And I didn't have I always had the same work ethic.
Yeah.
Trust me, right? Like, but even during that time, I moved to Miami, right? Like, I was still finding myself.
Yeah.
And I just kind of cruised. And then, I mean, I coached, but it was really Squeakerton. Maybe when you and I met, right? It was like probably 10, 11 years ago when I started to, because I had to get my shit together. I was not in a good place for a few years when I lost everything and got my stuff I wasn't good I couldn't even be there for anyone else. So I had to get me together, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kind of started picking up again,
Why do you think some gyms, like kind of backtracking a little, why do you think some gyms are so like against cross training? Like Classic is so open to cross training. But like I feel like some people, like I understand respecting your coach. Like if I'm ever gonna go to another gym, I'm gonna let I'm gonna let my coaches know. Hey, I might head over to like blah blah blah. Like, and if they want to tag along, I'm cool with that. But like, there's never any like weird. But I don't know. Like I feel like there are some gyms where it's
people are threatened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just odd because I feel like there's certain like places that are mecca
you
for
should
training
be able
partners, and SoCal is one of them.
You should be able to, and we've always thought this because I did this back then and I would still do it now. First of all, like I pretty much run my own stuff, so like I wouldn't let a coach tell me I can't, but they would be my coach.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go where I want.
You're gonna rep them, but you're gonna get good training in.
But I know what to do. I've been around, but you're still my coach. Like I wouldn't have other people coaching me and telling me what to do.
Loyalty is essential, of course. Like you have to have that loyalty to your coach.
Absolutely. But going, iron sharpens iron. So 100%. You should be able to, and hey, let me tell you, it's like if we know those type of fighters who come and they're like dipping from everyone and trying to get, okay, that's different.
Yeah.
That's different.
No, but when it's like authentic, genuine work,
right.
It's different.
And we're working together, it's like, okay, that's different. But, you get the hoppers that are trying to get, like I always paid my coaches. Yeah. Right. I paid my people. Right. Yeah. Like you get the people that are, they're just trying to get something for free and they're trying to get as much as they can for free. Yeah. Without paying anyone, without being respectful, without repping anyone. And those people are always going to be here. They're people like that have been around since the beginning of time. Okay. So it's like, I'm not going to be able to stop you. First of all, I don't give a fuck. If you want to go somewhere else, then fucking go somewhere else. Yeah. If you don't think I'm doing a good job, my background and what I produce speaks for itself. Yeah. If you want someone who's going to tell you, I'm a firm but fair. I'm an old school coach, Oh, yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear.
I remember I used to be sparring and you would like be coaching me and like you would tell me like something simple, like double jab your way in or something super simple. And I like wouldn't do it. And then I'd ask you questions in between rounds and you're like, well, I'm not going to tell you to do anything else. If you can't do the one simple thing, I'm telling you to double jab. If you can't double jab, I'm not going to tell you to slip, roll, this, that. Like, you got to listen. And I remember being like, yeah, that's right. Like, and you're a very straight up coach and there's no like bullshit around it. Like it is what it is. You were like, why am I gonna? You're not doing what I say. Like why would I say anything else? You can't double jab. You gotta double jab your way in. I'm telling you how to get in.
I'm telling you
I'm
what
telling you how to do it. You just gotta do it. And it's like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. And then you start coaching more and more, and it's like, oh,
because we look for and I tell my fighters now, it's like this is a very difficult sport. I'm just looking for. Can you listen? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Are you doing what I tell you to do? So. I like that you remember that. No, right? I don't even remember that.
I remember you being like
but I always felt like I'm like a firm, like I say, I'm a firm but fair.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's like why am I going to tell you all these things
if you're in the fight? I'm like, I need you to fucking do this, like throw something. But I think we both have coaches. I've had coaches where maybe they talk down to you or they're disrespectful. Like I'm a fighter, so like I've never felt like I would disrespect my people, like I just people die in this sport, right?
You have to be direct, and it's like especially if you are. And I remember I was only 16.
I mean, I always even when you and I were training, like I always encouraged you go to other places. Well, like I never tried to stop you.
So when I was like 17, I would go spar Kylan Curran
at Ruka,
with at Ruka, and I remember even like letting you're like like I'll go along with you. Like it was never like Pearl's a boxer and I'm a boxer, so like no, like it was never weird. It was just like like let's get you some good work in. Like I'll be there, I'll coach you. Like,
and if I can't, I think there were times that I wasn't there.
Yeah, there were. Yeah,
I mean, I was like, just go do your thing. It
was never like a weird like fine if you want to go, like you can go. But I feel like that's kind of the vibe you get sometimes. It's like I mean I don't think I've ever personally had coaches that have been like I do know of some gyms that are more culty.
My biggest thing is like I like to I'll only burn a bridge unless you fucking make me. You know what I mean? It's
that's a good thing to put on a reel right there.
Yeah, it's like I'm only gonna burn a bridge if you make me.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not that person where it's like fuck everyone burn bridges. I couldn't be in this industry as long as I have been.
If you burned all the bridges.
If I was burning bridges. Yeah, I've had episodes with people, of course. You know what I mean? Like we're human, but I have. People speak, coaches that I've worked with, fighters that I've worked with, you know what I mean? It's like, if you have a problem with me, it's probably because you started the problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a really flexible
like if you have a problem with someone, like you're going to go to that person and be like, hey, we have a problem. Like I'm never going to hear from like another person, like Erin has a real problem with you. Like, I'm going to know you have a problem with me because it's like, you're a straight person. Like there's no like beating around the bush. Right. That's what it is. Like, why be weird?
Why? Why do you have a problem? Why does she have a problem with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have problems with people. It's just, if you come for me or if you're expecting.
Or you act weirdly.
If you don't act out of pocket with me, please. Because then that forces me to act out of pocket and you're not going to like it. You know what I mean? But I also, the older I've gotten and, now I'm in my job and things too, lessons in patience, Erin, be patient. Because I do have patience. You have to be patient to be a coach.
You do, yeah.
But I can still be a certain way. And I am that way still, but I have to, you got to tone things down a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because building bridges. I'm all about networking, and I've always been that way. And I want to, now my reach is going further because I'm working with more fighters and different coaches who I might not have, and we want to build those relationships. So like a business is relationships. Yeah. No matter if it's matchmaking, you're a fighter, you're a coach, it's like relationships matter and people matter. And that stuff is really, really important. So when you hear people that are like, fuck them, fuck this, fuck that, or actually the people, if they have a problem with everyone, they're the problem.
I saw something.
They're the problem.
It was like you can have a minimum of or a maximum of 3 beefs with 3 people before I start to think it's you. You know what I mean? Because it's like, why are you burning every bridge? Like, there's some people that have been kicked out of every gym they've been to, and I'm like, I don't know how you get kicked. I've never been kicked out of a gym. Like, what do
I've
you got to
never
do to
been
get kicked out of a
I've
gym?
never been kicked out of a gym in my life, ever. Ever. I can go to any friggin' gym
Be back
and be welcomed and be respected,
Yeah.
right? Because I've
Yeah.
never acted out of pocket with coaches. I've never tried, when I walk into that, I'm very, like, it's martial arts, you know what I mean? It's taught me that. It's taught me the restraint and the calmness and the humility and the respect. And it's like, because there's always, have it. You need to, but.
And I feel like there's a way, I think what people have a problem with is you can stand up for yourself respectfully, but I think a lot of people don't know that balance, and that's where the issues come in. It's like, if you have something to convey, you can convey it, you're offended or whatever it may be. It's the way you convey it, the way you communicate about that. Or you could just like be a dick and like start questioning your coach's character and like attacking. And it's like, you don't have to be disrespectful and be outspoken and stand up for yourself. Like, it's not the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's communication.
Yeah.
And those things are learned as well. Even from the time I was coaching, in 2005 to the time now, I'm a different person, number one. But my communication skills are very high, right?
Yeah.
My common sense is really high. But I'm still like, I have my moments too, right?
Yeah.
So I have to pick my battles, right? And like, what am I going to give my energy to? So when I was your age, it was like...
I'm still learning that. I'd be snapping back
we're all
in my
still
comments,
learning.
and I'm like, don't do
Learning.
Yeah.
I just snapped at somebody the other day on my comments because he said something stupid, and I was like, but to me, I just go, okay, man, like, you just... There are some things, it's not what we say, it's how we say it.
Yeah.
So there's times when I can tell what you're saying. Don't, because it's not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
And then there are times where I can just like delete it. So most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I'm like, and I don't get that shit that often, by the way. It's like very once in a blue moon, somebody will come on my, I don't have the fan base you do.
Yeah.
I don't have 100,000 followers, you know what I mean? So I'm known in my community, but I don't have random, like every day coming on there. Once in a great, when I'm like,
you're like,
today's the day.
Thank you.
I'm like, I'm going to shine. Today's the day I'm going to teach you, right? But it's like, it's boundaries, because what you'll see is like in life, most people, they're going to just keep trying to get away with something. Yeah. And I have very good boundaries. Yeah. And I know how to stop people. And people, if you're sensitive, or if you're trying to run game on me, or you're trying to run a hustle on me, I don't care where it's at. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And so some people will respect those and go, I respect her for that. Yeah. And you're going to have people that are going to be like, they don't like you. Yeah. Because you see them. Yeah. Right? Like, I see you. I can read you like a book. A book, is very easy. Yeah. And so, the job that we're in too, it's like being a fighter, you have to be able to navigate those things, and the job being a matchmaker. Yeah. And that's fine. And some people, I let them run their thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay. You're trying to, I get it. We're all trying to
climb the ladder.
We're all trying to climb the ladder.
You're like, I've been in your shoes before. I get it.
So I don't, I'll hear you out on stuff. But this is the one thing, this is another very good, you see the same people coming, going up the ladder as you do coming down. Yeah. Yeah. So people, the people that I saw coming up, I'm seeing those people when I come down. Yeah. I'm seeing some of the people going back up. So it's like things are going to ebb and flow for you in life. Yeah. Just treat people the way you want to be treated, right? Because it's like, and I have a good reputation with people. It's like they just go, okay, don't fuck with her, you know? And I'd rather have that than, she's a bop. Is that what it is? Yeah. Right?
I think that's what the kids are saying nowadays.
That's what the kids are saying nowadays, right? But it's like, I'd rather be known for that. And like, she's tough. She's tough. Don't fuck with her, I think
that's the most common thing I've ever heard about you is like the respect. You know what I mean? It's like, and I feel like it's so also important. Being a woman, like, and starting fighting when you did, and being around those male dominated spaces when you did, it's like you had no choice but to carry yourself in that way. You're gonna get run over. You're gonna get trampled. Like, I feel like even as a woman now, sometimes you walk into some gyms and you still feel like you have to prove yourself 10 times more. Yeah. And that's not as a parent now, obviously, as it used to be, but. You have to be like that to make it. You have to be.
I would have been any woman who is, my age, I mean, again, I'm like pushing 50, right? I'm like, I forget that sometimes. So if you've been in this sport for as long as I have, and not even MMA, boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing is brutal. Like I think
boxing and MMA are very different in their worlds.
MMA, I could do blindfolded. I could do the business standing on my head. I can do boxing is different. Yeah. Right. It's just a different beast. It's different levels, different people. It's a different world.
It's also been around for a lot longer.
It's just different.
It's a lot deeper. Yeah.
Different type of crowd. And but if you're a journalist, you know, a fighter, a commentator, you're in this as a female. You're tough. Yeah. You're a tough woman, you know, and you've dealt with a lot. Yeah. And so I always have major respect for any of these women who are in that sports, boxing specifically. You know what I mean? Because I know
boxing's crazy.
I know
I had a few boxing like fights, like professional.
Right, I know.
And I always felt so unwelcome in the boxing world. Yeah. Like especially, and I think it also didn't help that I was an MMA fighter. Right. You know, but I always wanted to box, like just to like I wanted to get better, and that was my biggest. I just want to get better. Like I want to get better.
They respect us now. Yeah. They respect us now.
Yeah. When I was they didn't. I felt like I was so unwanted. Like, and I can only imagine like. And that's like as it's progressed. Like I couldn't imagine like like I was like, wow, and it's so crazy because I've never really walked into a room and felt it, but I remember walking into some weigh-ins and just everyone's head turning and I would be like, oh shit, like,
they didn't respect you.
Like, and that's coming from like I fought for Invicta, so like everything is like normal. All the women are welcome, like everything. And I walked into some of these box rooms and I was like, oh fuck, I am not wanted here. Like I fought on Roy Jones Jr. and I thought I personally won that fight. It was very close. Whatever.
When you were in Texas. Right, yeah, because you and I talked because I was in Texas for the Errol Spence,
I'm talking about
Mikey
the one in
Garcia.
San Diego.
Okay,
I fought in San Diego.
When you were fighting, when she was in Texas, this is like 2019 or 2020?
2020? Or
2020?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I was at the Errol Spence, was it Errol Spence? And Mikey Garcia fought at where are the Dallas Cowboys? Anyway, it was huge. This was crazy. She fought the same weekend. Yeah. And we talked. Yeah. And we were still, you know, getting back to talking more. Yeah. And you had reached out to me and I was like, I forget how it stopped, but I was like, just, you know, whatever advice I gave you. Yeah. Because she was coming in B-side, like I had done many times, you know, and it's like, cards are stacked against you. So
I fought. I
think you won. I feel like you won that. I think because I think I saw the fight and I was like,
I've only won one professional boxing fight. I mean, I think I won more than that personally.
You did.
But the record shows different. That's fine. It's
because
boxing. It's not my world. It's different, 100%.
Because you're B-side. I've been B-side. I've won and lost.
It's not my world. But I remember when I fought Roy Jones Jr. and he was on UFC Fight Pass, I thought I did really well. And I thought I could have won. And I remember going back and listening in the commentary.
Wait, didn't you fight Marion Juarez?
Yeah.
Because
Jackie Juarez. No.
Jack. No. No, God, I'm thinking of it. Because my girl that I used to train. Yeah, she
beat
her ass.
Aida something. No, she fought two of the girls that I fought. The Juarez girl I fought.
Right.
Yeah, and then I thought I beat her, and I didn't cut no weight for that fight or anything, and I thought I beat her, but the commentator was talking mad shit the whole
you're
time.
B-side.
And I would like tag her up, and he'd be like, her stance is a little too wide. She has a wrestler stance, and I was like, what does that got to do with I'm landing a 3-piece combo?
I remember I saw because I watched that fight because when I went back to watch footage for Juarez because we were fighting her, and I went like this. I went, that's fucking gay. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know she fought her. You know? And so I watched that. I was like, shh.
But I remember even the commentators were like talking
because that girl was like, a good little fighter too.
Yeah, and that was like her like second fight, I think.
Yeah, but she was like a national champion. You know, she was a tough girl.
She was good.
She was a tough girl.
But I was just like, damn, like they really don't want me here.
But it's just different.
No, it's very different. Yeah. And I wasn't educated in the boxing world. Like, I mean, I had trained, you know, with you and stuff like that, but I was mostly at MMA gyms. I wasn't in the boxing world. I didn't know how to approach a boxing like crowd or situation. And I remember I was like, this is a lot different than the MMA world. Like, it's very different.
It's different.
Yeah.
The business is different.
Yeah, I mean, MMA is slowly changing, but I feel like
it'll never be like that.
No,
right?
No.
So like when I go back to saying like because I've done both sports and I've seen it at the highest level and how they operate, and it's like, you know, it's just I can't say anything else except it's different, and you only know if you know. So it's like when you go into these different situations, it's like boxing is still it's very like segregated, and there's very like you know, these people work with these people and and MMA is very diverse and very inclusive.
Yes.
And all kinds of people train with each other.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone from here to there. Boxing is old school. Right. There's still religions that stay with religions, like people that stay with people, like cultures that stay with cultures. Like it's always like that. It's always going to be like that. So
it was like a cultural shock for me with boxing. How is it like being on the other side of? You've always been a fighter and a coach. How is it like being like a matchmaker on the flip side, and like trying to make matchups and like I've heard it's a little difficult sometimes.
She's happy.
I like how she does that.
She's all look at her face. It's I feel like I'm able to give back.
Yeah.
Because the one thing, it was very it was a really historic thing for me to be offered this job. And I was against some other really good men for the position. And they looked at me as, she's an athlete.
Yeah.
Not a woman who were given this job, because, I'm not all about yes, I support women. Yeah. Of course I support women. But I'm not hire her because she's a woman. I want the best person for the job, man or woman. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're green.
You have to know what you're doing.
The color, your purple is, just do the job. I want the job done well. So to have a woman, because I'm there's no women who have the background, the combat sport background that I have, doing 3 sports and all that. And so I take all of those things, which is really awesome. And now there's not a lot of matchmakers that were fighters as well. One of the only other, you got Christy Martin, and I was able to match one of her fighters for her. Shout out to Christy. And she's another one, seen it all, been through it all, tough woman, and she's for the people, right? We're the people, the fighters. It's not you, the organization. The organization, that one's trying to squeeze you for everything you got, So I feel like I can give back in that way, where I can advocate for the fighters. You know what I mean? Because so when they come to me, because guess what? There's also things now too where, the fighters will come to me. Yeah. Even when I was working with, the bare knuckle one, and I was doing work with them and stuff, and I was interviewing and doing some stuff. Some of them couldn't understand, why are they only asking you? Yeah. Why are they coming to you? Yeah. I mean, is this this gotta be a rhetorical question, right?
Are you asking me?
Are you come on? Yeah. Because I'm one of them. Yeah. You're not you're not one of them. They know that I've done bare knuckle, MMA. I put my ass on the line. I've done it all, right? Yeah. Boxing. It's I know how it is to be A side and the top of the top, and I know how it is to be the B side. I've been there. I've seen it both sides. And like we said, highest to highs, lowest to lows. So if I could come in and advocate for them and speak on their behalf, because sometimes you get fighters who can't speak for themselves, or they're just really not experienced.
Uneducated.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things. They don't have experience. Yeah. Maybe they're not the most educated. Yeah. Maybe they're scared to say something. Yeah. Maybe their coaches are new or don't know. There's a litany of things that go into this. And so a lot of things are going to be lost. But the fighters always come, and I let them, I'm here for you. Yeah. And when I say that, I mean it. Yeah. That's why, even though I'm, amicably split with BYB, I still talk to all the fighters. Yeah. They ask me advice on stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, even when I made my pro debut, I was only 18, but I'm thankful that I ended up at Invicta and have most of my, pro fights, even before the UFC with Invicta, because I was so uneducated. I didn't know the game. I didn't know how much I should be getting paid. Right, I didn't know. I hear some of these purses that even some of these promotions are paying these people, and I'm that is fucking robbery. Right. What are you doing? But some of these athletes, they don't have anyone to speak on behalf of them, and they don't want to negotiate. Because that's the thing about a lot of fighters, they don't know. They're I want to fight. I just want to fight. I don't care.
They don't know how to negotiate.
No.
There's an art to that. You know what I mean? It's not I want... Yeah.
I still don't. I have people do that for me. I still can't do that.
And you need to have that. That's why we have managers and advisors, and that's a personal thing with the fighter that they go through. But I mean, I have fighters where it's I'll get into managing, you know what I mean, at some point when I feel that it's right. I advise. I advise fighters. I have fighters who...
you give me advice all the time.
Yes. But as an advisor, I'm not a manager, right? Yeah. So it's but I'm still you can charge a percentage, or you can honor something for them. okay, I'll honor what your last person did, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's some people I just help because I'm going to help you, right? And I'm not expecting anything in return. If it's business, this is business, you know what I mean? And let me do right by you. Yeah. So like, I feel like I got this job because but you have to can't be a dingbat. No. You can't be a ding dong doing this job, right? Where it's like, you have to be good with people. Yeah. Number one. Yeah. You have to have, we say common sense. I can be subjective, right? But it's like, you got to be able to talk to all kinds. I can go into any room in the world, no matter what level it's at, and I feel comfortable. I feel confident. I feel I can carry with whomever. Yeah. And that's really important. So it's like, and I've been a fighter. Yeah. So like, they trust that part. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and it's nice because like I was saying, I feel like a lot of fighters, including myself, like I was a yes man. Like, will you fight this time, this day for no money? Yeah. Sure. I just want to fight. I just want to fight. I just want to fight. Like, that's all I care about is fighting. Like, I don't care how much I get paid. I don't care. But it's like, if someone like you is there advocating, you're gonna be like, no, you should care. Like, you should care. And this is what you should be getting paid. And this is what you can't accept. Like, and then they're like, oh, that's the standard.
And this is an interesting that we're, because now I would just want to touch on this before I forget. But because of how popular this sport is, right? Which is great. I love it. But on the same token, we're getting fighters and coaches. I'm not going to go into all that shit that are for the gram. We're also getting managers.
100%.
And I use that term very loosely, right? Manager. In boxing, a real manager is something different, right? Yeah. You got to have money behind you. It's not like this in MMA. Yeah, it's not like there's a whole system that is running behind the scenes and people have no idea.
I got too many trust issues for some of these
managing companies. There's just a lot that's happening behind the scenes, and and that's for the fighters' welfare, right? But what I'm saying is, like, the manager, people think I'm his manager and I'm gonna call him, and it's like there's a lot more to it than that. But everyone thinks that they're bare knuckle is new, and then you get these half wits. Right? Who've never trained a day in their life, and they're like making their little company. I'm going to take 10%. It's like, bro, like, and they're betting off the inexperience and maybe some of them not being as intelligent and whatever. Yeah. But there's, we have a whole group of these managers they're con men. Yeah. And so I can't save them all. Yeah. We love dogs. I rescue dogs. Yeah. I wish I could. I can't save them all. Yeah. Right. But I can advocate for the ones that I can. Yeah. And I write a lot of stuff too. Now it's, if you pick it up, then that's on you. Yeah. Right. If you're meant to see the message, fits, then, right. It's on that one. But it's like, if you're meant to see the message, you'll see it. If not, then, hopefully karma is good, and you maybe run into somebody that can help you.
It's scary too, because I feel like,
but these are learning lessons too, right? Sometimes, because I've had, by the way, I've had my lunch money taken a few times, like in my career for many things. So it's like, and then that's when I started taking control of my career, because I was like, I can fucking do this, and I'm smart enough to do this.
You have the experience, and you have
and
the
I've read over many big contracts, and then the ones I couldn't read. Or I was like, I had a lawyer.
Yeah, someone who does know what they're doing.
Somebody who does know what. I'm not a lawyer.
I think it's crazy when you see some of these companies or managers, I guess, like managers, like, this is fighting. Like, this is not like a regular sport. Like, you are taking advantage of people who are literally getting like, and I know it's dramatic, but like every time you fight, well, you have to sign a waiver they literally tell you to your face, you need to sign this because you might die. And you have to sign this because you could die in the cage. Every single fight I've ever fought, they make you sign that paper. Yeah. And it literally says, you could die and we're not liable. And it's like, if I have to sign a paper like that, like, it's crazy to think that people are benefiting off of a sport where it's like, it is that serious. You know what I mean? Well, and it's like, damn, it's
they can't be liable.
Rough. Yeah,
they can't be liable. You're going to have good people who are promoters, and you know what I mean. You have good ones that were fighters themselves, and they still got to cover their ass. Yeah, you know what I mean. So no matter what, if I was a promoter, I have to have that too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, But I'm just saying it's crazy that managers are trying to like.
Oh, managers.
Yeah, I'm talking about managers. Like, no. They're not, like, promotions make you sign that, but I'm saying managers are taking advantage of a sport where that's a possibility. Did I twist my words?
Yeah, say it again.
So I'm saying it's crazy because you were saying you see like managers dog people all the time. It's crazy. Like this is MMA. Like this isn't like a regular sport. Like you are playing with people's like safety. So like you are setting people up, running their careers, and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And this is a dangerous sport to just be like blindly running someone's career and like taking advantage of that career. And especially when you get into like bare knuckle and stuff like that, because it's like, it's so much different. Like getting hit with a bare knuckle is so much different than like, you know what I mean?
I remember this is last year and I was like, next time, I never had a fight. Like put the hot dogs down. Like you could never do that.
Hot dogs down.
Right? Like, true, they're the ones that like it's like the parents who live vicariously through their kids, right? Because they could never be doing what they're doing in the sport, right? Whatever sport that is, it just runs the gambit, right? But we see that a lot in boxing, right? We see it in many other sports. So it's like they're gonna all of their things that they could never achieve, right? Or never obtain. They're gonna want to push their kid in like the money.
I was that kid.
I know.
I know. I am first.
They don't know. Maybe they don't know, but it's like we know.
No, I was that kid, and
I know because I had to deal with him, right?
Yeah.
So I do know that, but you get these people that will jump on a wave, right? Where it's like they didn't fit in MMA, they didn't fit in boxing.
Yeah.
Somehow because it's kind of a misfit thing, right? Where it's like now it's gaining respect and popularity because BKFC and like real fighters are going. But in the beginning, it was like, the people who could make it in these other sports were going to this one. Yeah. But now you have actual athletes that want to like
training for
we're
that.
Good athletes and we can excel in
Yeah.
all these sports. We just maybe want to see what.
Why
or maybe
not?
we're too old to do like boxing anymore. Like I was too old to do MMA. Like I couldn't have gone through that, but the grind for boxing I could do it. So I'm like, oh, okay. But you get these people who somehow they, just found a little, it's like anything. They found that little niche, right? And they found that little like, who can I? And they sold a little dream to somebody, right? They're a car salesman. We see this with coaching. We see this all across the board, like people who
everywhere in life, honestly.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And, like they say it's squeaker time. You're interrupting the interview. But it's like, and they prey off people like that. So those are bad people, and unfortunately that's the.
I don't think there's any way to get rid of people like that.
No.
It's just people you gotta watch out for.
They'll always be there.
Yeah. And they'll always expose themselves eventually.
They always do, right?
That's something I've learned is like sometimes you don't like, I don't know, there's been situations where it's like maybe I've gotten, fucked over or I've been like, what the hell? Learn. But it's like, I've learned like, keep your mouth shut, do your own thing. They'll expose themselves eventually.
Yeah, and they do.
It's a small world, you know what I mean? Especially the MMA world. It's so small, and it's like usually like who's cool, who's not cool. Like word travels fast in MMA, especially like when you're in deep in the community.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It does. It's a small all of fighting is a small world, So again, it's like you do your best to, like I said, I can't save all these other people, but for my tribe, for my people, I do. Man, like I'm just
you ride hard.
I ride hard. That's
you do.
Perfect. It's like I'm a ride or die, and my people know that, right?
Yeah.
They'll never look back over 30 years and be like, she was shady.
Yeah. No. Shady's not
Die.
Who said that? Who said that? Why are you lying?
Right? No one is there. Yeah, she's a bitch. Okay, I'm cool with that. Or like she's crazy. Like, okay, I'm cool with that because those things are true. And it's like I'll give you exactly what you give me, right? I'm gonna mirror that. But like
I'm sorry.
Squeaks knows. She's a yes mother. But it's like shady. I've never been called shady. Yeah. I've never been called tried to hustle my people. Like,
no.
Oh my God.
No.
And so, my dad raised me the right way. Like, thank God, and whatever. But it's like, remember, like these people who expose themselves too. There's sometimes people don't get along. Yeah. People split.
Yeah,
there's
100%.
all kinds of scenarios. But, when you're trying to like you do good people bad. Ooh,
It's gonna come back around.
it's like you were like that the whole time, man.
Yeah.
Because like I've never done my people dirty. You know, sometimes we just
sometimes you have people you don't get along with, and it's no beef or
right,
nothing weird.
or
It's
you
like just don't get
outgrow
along.
each other.
100%, and that's natural. That's fine. But there's some people where it's like, that was weird.
And
Like that was shady.
know those
That
people.
was fucking weird.
We
I
know
didn't
those
like
people.
that. Yeah.
You know, you tried to hustle them. You tried to one up. You tried to get one over on them, or you tried to, you know, you're shady. Like,
and I feel like it also, when you're in the sport, you start seeing that earlier and earlier the longer you're in the sport.
Of course,
obviously there's people who are con artists who are good at it, who are like, whoa, I did not see that coming. But I feel like once you're in the sport for a while, you're like, all right, like I can kind of gauge
people.
Like,
the sport is, you know, life is people, man.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about earlier, it's like building relationships. Like business is people.
Yeah. And everyone's in a different point too, because I remember when I was first starting training, like I was always very coachable, very this, very that, but it is a selfish sport. And I remember I had more of a selfish mentality, I think, than I do now. And I always rode hard for my people, and I always rep my people, and I was never one of those people. But I think as time went on, you know, you realize like, yeah, it's a selfish sport, and it is. I go in there by myself and I fight, but man, you have training partners that you want to see succeed. Like you have friends and family, you want to see. You have coaches you want to see succeed. You know, now you see a teammate win, and you're like, you're happy for your coach, happy for them. Yeah. And then sometimes I see people that are, you know, at the point where I used to be, and I'm like, all right, like they'll get there, like they'll get there eventually, you know what I mean?
Or the people, you know, they can be in it forever, and they really think you fucking thought you got here yourself.
I know, yeah.
Like it's wild.
No, there's a lot of people that do think that they get to the top or close to the top, and it's like, damn, that's crazy.
Seen it all. I've seen it all. I
feel like it's like, I don't know, I don't understand that, like.
And remember, it's like when people when you show me who you are the first time, I believe you.
I'll listen. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that. Yeah,
I believe you.
Yeah,
I don't need you to show me 2 times.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like I believe you, and those are those people. It's like, what did you do to Erin to like? You know what I mean? It's like I said, there's some people we just kind of we don't see eye to eye. That's cool.
I feel like I have very few people that I have like really like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to burn a bridge. Like how you know
you
what
gotta
I mean?
do
Especially
me
when you
dirty.
own your shit and
you gotta
like,
do me dirty.
Yeah.
You gotta like do me sideways, like something that I would never. I'd be like, all right, you go.
Sometimes I'm impressed. I'm like, how did you even do that? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, because you're just not a good person.
What's been like the highlight of your career? Like, I know you've had like a long career, you've been in the sport for a while, but like, what's the highlight, or what's like the main? I guess even the main takeaway I'm sure you've learned a lot and grown a lot in the sport, but what's like the main takeaway or the highlight that like really stands out to you? She's like, where do I start?
Fuck, let me think. That's a really good question. It's I mean, I think without, you know, sport in general, but even though I started in MMA, I've always gravitated towards boxing. Like you see everything is like boxing is life. No boxing, no life. Like I'm a boxing coach. Everything is boxing. Like I'm not even into MMA. Like I watch it, even though I was pretty good at it. And I went pretty far, you know, until I messed up my, with Strike Force. But it's like boxing was harder for me. You know what I mean? Like MMA came a little easier. Like I just was athletic and I just did things, and boxing I had to overcome just that sport in general and the people and the adversity and all of that stuff. So being able to, and you know, like all of us, trauma, death, all kinds of things that, like, when I wake up in the morning, I have the gratitude now that I didn't when I was your age, right? Like I get like, so the sport gave me the ability to overcome. Like resiliency, right? And to bounce back. And even the times when I felt most hopeless, or like there wasn't light at the end of the tunnel, it was like, don't give up.
Boxing's there. Boxing's there. Yeah, boxing's there.
But it was like, it's that whole just don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. It's okay to like stop or like, you know, like, but just don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Don't quit. Even if it takes you years to get to where you need, just don't quit. Keep going. So,
and that's the thing about the sport too. Like, you know,
it gave me that. And that's why I'm able to be like who I am today. And like,
I think resiliency is something that the sport's teaching me right now too.
Absolutely.
Like, obviously I feel like I'm resilient in life, but being resilient in life and in the sport can be two completely different things. I'm so hard on myself, and I'm 24, and then I look and I see these fighters, like even the women, like fighting for the belt, they're like 35, and I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck am I? Like, you know what I mean? But I think resiliency is something that the sport really shoves down your throat. You know what I mean? And if you're either gonna crack or you're gonna keep going.
Your dog,
like you said, you can take a break. You can.
It's okay to break,
but don't quit. Yeah.
I did too. You know what I mean? But it's like I came back for different reasons. You know what I mean? And it was for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's you're seeing that now too, or maybe you don't have somebody to answer to, and you're like. But it'll bring, this sport will bring the best and the worst out of you, right? And like we said, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I've lost a few times, right? And then I've lost ones that I won too.
Yeah.
Right? There's both sides of that. And then I've had my ass kicked.
She fought Layla Ali.
Like Layla.
Yeah.
I did well with her. And that would, let me talk, you know, it was like MMA fighters got no respect then.
No,
it was like Showtime pay-per-view.
Was that when you were B team?
18,000 people.
Yeah.
When I was what?
B team? When you were like,
oh yeah,
enemy?
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. She was.
It's Muhammad Ali's daughter, right?
Muhammad Ali's daughter. Mike Tyson was the main event, but it's like I fought for the first, for a women's world title, right?
Yeah.
So if you're an MMA fighter, and they trashed me too.
Yeah.
Same people then were respected now, right?
Yeah.
But look, like I overcame. And it wasn't like, I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
I never was like that. I was just like,
you're like, all right, okay.
I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. And I'm going to, it's for me, right? Yeah. And then if that opens the door for other people, and, you know, great. But it's like, I'm just, like I said, every day I wake up in the morning, I live very minimally. I don't have a lot of material stuff, you know. I like money too. I like nice things.
We're in SoCal, so you have to,
right. So you gotta have some type of money.
Like money in Southern California, you have to.
But it's like, it just if you don't have your health, you have nothing,
mental or physical, 100%.
And right, and so I was at that point too with my addiction and whatever. Where it was like I couldn't even get out of bed. Yeah, and it was like I'm 30 at should be fucking crushing shit, and it was like, ooh. And it made me getting through that, you know, as well. It was like, I have a totally different appreciation. My gratitude is like, and people like, maybe that's why people don't think I look as old as I am. You know what I mean? I've lived a pretty fun early life. So knock on wood, it's the Asian genes, like those, shout out to my Asian genes, you know, it's like, it helps keep you young. But I mean, I've had
you don't look like you fought for almost 30 years. That's crazy.
Right.
You don't
31 pro fights, right? No. You know what I mean? And I've been through the trenches. I've seen a lot of shit. So I think, you know, a lot of it is, you know, gratitude and living just, I'm thankful for what I have. Sweet you know, not what I don't have, which was different in my age. When I was in my 20s, I was like,
it's hard, and
I want all this shit.
It's hard, especially when you're at the point in life where everyone's in different stages, and you see some people at the top, some people at the bottom, and you're like, fuck, like, I want to be that.
Life, of course.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, but the difference is now, like, for me, it's like, I have the people who I realize this too, you know, later on in life, is like, your circle is so important. And I surround myself with people who are above me. Above me. I want to get to where my homie is. Yeah. And they inspire me. Yeah. Right? So it's not like I'm not competitive with my people. It's like, I'm like, fuck yeah. Because when they do good, I do good. Yeah. And we help each other. 100%. You know, so especially in this, you know, the higher you get, and you've been to the top, you're in the UFC. There's no higher than the UFC.
No,
That's it. Yeah. There isn't anywhere else to go. Yeah. So you'll see the people, you know, it's like they'll either ride with you, they won't, they'll be secretly rooting against you, hoping you fall, you know, whatever. That's part of the process. Yeah. And they weed themselves out, but it's like, yeah, man, I'm just grateful to fucking be here. Yeah. And I know that sounds all cornball and stuff.
No, but it's true. I mean, I can relate to that. I totally understand.
You've seen a lot too, man.
I'm like 100 years old in my heart, my mind. I'm like, and back in my day, I'm like, you're 24. I'm like, relax. Like,
I'm on me when Kate, right? Kate's like my age. I'm like, 30 years ago.
In 5 years, we're gonna be sitting in rocking chairs.
Oh my God, right? But yeah.
But now you're in a position, like you said, where you're advocating for fighters and you're a matchmaker for fighters. What is the biggest piece of advice you can give to like a fighter who wants to be successful and wants to like accomplish big things? You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about what it takes to be a fighter and and everyone just, you know what I mean? But like, you're one of the most OG people I know. You've seen the sport evolve. You've seen the sport change for the good, for the bad, for everything. Right. What would you tell a fighter, especially in this new generation? Because this new generation is very different. We were just talking about this. Than even when I started training at 16, back in like 2016, I think it was.
10 years ago. It really started to change. The changing of the guard, right?
Yeah.
Is like a decade ago. This is where everyone has seen
right
it.
when I got in?
Yeah,
Almost.
right?
Yeah.
When you were still like, right?
Yeah.
But then it like started to get, you know, kind of where it is today.
Yeah.
Where everyone thinks they're Mayweather, right? You have no fights.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah.
Not where you're at right now, but let me.
Let's see what we can do. Let me see what I can
see what I can do. Sure, but it's like I you know, I can say there's few things that I can say where it's like, find the right gym, look, man, people are going to end up where they're going to end up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're probably going to change gyms once or twice.
Right.
Like,
but we can tell you to go to this place and you're going to end up at some con man running through the circle. They're going to use you. They're going to put you through the grinder.
Yeah.
Now, MMA, I don't worry about those kids, right? Because this is different. Boxing, they use people.
Yeah.
And there's coaches that specifically take people in. Mm-hmm. They go, I can use these, I can make money off you.
Yeah.
And I can use you for B-side.
Yeah.
And then those poor fighters don't know.
Yeah.
And they'll never know.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the dark side of the sport.
Yeah.
That's like, it's all going to depend on where you end up. If you feel that there's something wrong with your career or you're being pushed. This is the best thing I can say. Go somewhere where you're comfortable, where you feel respected, right? But you got to put the time in, yada, yada, yada. But if you feel like you're not being listened to, right? If there's a coach that's pushing you to do a fight that even in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm not ready.
Yeah. Listen to your gut.
Listen to that. But a lot of kids are not going to say anything. They're going to go with that. So, you know, that's a really big thing.
I also feel like the opposite of that. A green flag in a coach is when someone's like, I just want to fight, and they're like, you're not ready.
Yeah,
that's like a green flag.
I've stopped so many people.
Because it's like, no, trust me. Like you don't, not yet. And then you make them develop in the gym.
Stop training with me
because of that.
Because they really thought with no amateur they were going to go pro, and they were like trying to do it, and I go, then I'm not. That's not how it works. That's not. I'm not for you. No. And
especially when like now you're a representation. You're like. Obviously, you care about their physical and health and their career, but like you're also a representation of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's like that's not how I am. Gonna have you operate. Right. So if you want to do that, go ahead. Do you. But I'm not gonna let you
down
do
the
that.
street.
You can do it yourself. I'm not gonna let you do that.
Go down the street because we don't run like that here. We don't do that. We actually care.
That's a big thing too. Is like trusting your coaches. Like trusting your coaches. Because like I wouldn't say I've had coaches in the past where I'm like, I don't know about that. But I remember when I did have a few points. I was very young in my career when I had a few points like that, and then I was like, okay, like maybe it's time for me to like. I think if you're second guessing, because I don't have an ego. I'm a very egoless fighter. Yeah. Student. I'm a student. I've always been a student. Really I'm a sponge.
I could make you do anything. Yeah. I'd be like, spar. But I'd be like, spar 10 rounds. And she'd be like, okay.
I respect you, you know? And I feel like even in softball, I grew up with a lot of like fraud coaches in softball. And I feel like I had like a radar for that. And at one point or another, you're like, okay, like I'm at a point now where it's like you're technically not my coach anymore, but I would still talk to you about, like, you're my coach, you know? I respect your opinion. I respect Tyler's opinion. I respect Chewy's opinion. Joe Murphy. Any person I consider a coach, I respect their opinion, and I'm not going to question what they say. Obviously, I'm not going to be dumb and walk blind, and if he tells me to go jump off a bridge, I'm not stupid. But, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, you guys have been in the sport longer than me. You have fought more than me. You have, you know what I mean? You guys know things that I know. You can see things that I can't see. You are a professional boxer. You're a genius in boxing. Tyler's a genius in this. Chewy's a genius in this. Like, I'm not a genius in shit. Like, I'm trying to be, and hopefully one day I am. But it's like I'm just I'm trying to make it, and I feel like being with coaches that you respect, or even people you respect. I have training partners that where if they're like, hey, you're dropping your hand, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not like, don't fucking tell me what I'm, you know what I mean? I'm like, thank you for telling me that.
Very coachable. You know what I mean? I mean, you didn't have a lick of boxing and we got you to like 6-0 in amateur or something.
Yeah.
We would go up to like Northern California and be like the only white.
What was it, like Hanford?
I don't know, but up in Sacramento or something, like the only white girl, a little like blonde head bobbing around and see a dark hair like mine, and my little girl would go in there and whoop ass.
Remember they thought it was my first amateur boxing fight ever, and I remember.
Oh yeah, you did. I thought that was a shadow.
No, I think my lipstick. It's okay. We don't have to cut this. This is real time.
This is real.
My lipstick melted.
It was candid.
I remember it was like, I think it was my first amateur boxing fight, the one you're talking about. And I had that one fight. I remember they thought I was like lying about. They thought I had like Muay. Oh, that's another thing. It was my first boxing fight. I had Muay Thai shorts on.
I was like, just wear them.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have boxing shorts. What do I do? She was like, just wear your Muay Thai shorts. I was like, okay, fine. I had no Muay Thai experience though. I was very green.
Oh yeah. They were like,
I know she has Muay Thai experience. Like, and I was like, honest to God, I just threw as many overhand rights as I could that fight. That's all I did. I just threw overhand right. We won. But I remember they were so mad, and I was like, what? I was like, I have Muay Thai experience? I do? Like, you're telling me stuff that I didn't even know about myself.
It's true. But we you know.
It was fun, though.
We had a lot of fun. And
or when we would, like, go, where did we go? Like, Pomona, or we fought, like, outside.
Yeah.
And I went not even knowing if I had an opponent, and I cut weight for it. And remember, we were, like, waiting until, like, the fight started. Be like, am I even going to fight? I don't even know I'm going to fight.
Those are fun,
like,
you know, and those are parts of, like, that's what real coaches do. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not getting paid for all of that overtime. Like, there's some real nice coaches in this sport, you know what I mean, at the amateur level too. And it's like they put their heart and soul and you know, hopefully to get you on your way to something. But they're not asking for money, you know what I mean? It's like maybe they pay them for their time, but it's but you know, it's like I said, boxing is it's a really dark sport, and there's a real
unforgiving
it's
too.
A real dark the business side. It'll eat you up and really,
see, I don't even know anything about the business side of boxing.
I know.
I don't even know if I want to know the business side.
You don't. You know what I mean? You stay in MMA, but it's like for the kids, it's like MMA. I'm not really worried about these kids. You know what I mean? Because the money
and everything is so in the public.
But
too,
it's
with MMA.
they don't. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Yeah. It's a different sport, and it's like the money isn't the same.
No. Plus,
that's
I feel like
at risk.
The UFC is kind of just like the promotion, and then everyone is kind of under the UFC.
They all fight for the same promotion.
Yeah, but not only, but like everyone fights. Okay, if you ask any professional MMA fighter, what's your goal? UFC. That's everyone's goal is to be in the UFC. But it's like in boxing, I feel like it's different. It's like you have a few different like big organizations that are competing for each other, and it's like
we have
it's
different
very
belts.
cutthroat.
We have
different.
It's very cutthroat, right?
Yeah.
That's why you get one loss and you're fucking done. But you can have a handful of losses in MMA and be at the top of the top.
Yeah.
But you know, now they're kind of forcing these guys in the same promotions to maybe fight each other or do it for something else. But you know, again, it's like the dark side of boxing is like you do have coaches and managers who are specifically looking for people that they're called bodies.
Yeah.
You know, or crash dummies. That's what they call them, you know, and it's like, I don't like that word, you know, and I'll stop people. Like, I remember someone said, oh, we just need this, what did they say? You know, something like that.
Is that why you see some boxers with like records of like 20-0? Like, I feel like you see some, like, young boxers with records of, like, 20-0. Are they just fighting, like, nobodies? Are they fighting just bodies? Like, stuff like that? Yeah,
that's how you build them at first. You know what I mean? And then absolutely. There's a way we build people.
Yeah.
But going back to, like, the B side, and then you'll see people that are, look, you can have somebody who's 20 wins and 30 losses. But they've only been stopped a couple times. Yeah. That means all those other fights they could have won. Yeah. And they were B-side. They could have dropped them. They could have whooped the living shit out of them, but they're not going to win, right? So that's the other side with the boxing. But you know, we just all I can say is, man, I hope that you end up somewhere good where somebody is protecting you, because there's a lot of coaches who have no idea what they're doing. And the experience is getting less and less and less. And I'm going to tell you, like, my job, because I've had people that come to me, oh, I want to put this guy. No.
And that's good, too, because there are some matchmakers that don't care, and they'll be like, okay,
because they never fought.
Yeah.
And they don't know. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So as a fighter, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm here to advocate for you guys. And if I can see it's a coach or a manager that's trying to make the money off you and trying to throw you in, you know, it's like, I really, you know, we don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give
even
like
for the
fair
future
shakes.
of the sport, like individual people, but like the future of the sport.
Well, I'm trying to protect people's health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now I'm asking for footage on people, right? So it's like, if you don't have any amateur experience, which some people don't have that now.
Yeah.
And they want to go pro. How do I know?
I wish I had more amateur experience.
Me too. I didn't have anything. I got pushed in.
I had one amateur MMA fight, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's go." And I wish I would have had a few more, like, you know what I mean?
That's okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing fine. We turned out okay, but that's not the normal story. We're the exception to the rule. So, you know, when I have these people that come to me, and I will all respectfully turn them down. You know, we only have 4 slots. I need to put it for the people who, like, you're ready to do this, you know what I mean? And we're like we're grassroots. So if you're showing me a video, because it's my name too. Yeah. And it's Roy's name, right? It's Fight Club OC. Like, I'm not just putting you in there because I know you. Yeah. Like, I have a job to do. So if you send me footage and in the first 10 seconds I see this. No, yeah. Sorry, it's not gonna happen. Yeah. Not with me. Yeah. You know, you're not ready. So go to Mexico and get 10 fights. You know what I mean? That's what I would say. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for coming on. Is there anything else you want to like touch on or talk about?
No.
How was it like fighting in Japan? Sorry, that's just like a random question. I've always wanted to go to Japan. It's like on my bucket list, and I've heard the Japanese fans are like the fucking best.
I've been to Pride. Japan is the best.
Because what was the promotion you fought for? It was like Smack Girl or
Remix. They were called Remix. So we did a 16-woman tournament. So I would have fought like I lost. Remember you saw the 6'3", 330 girl. Yeah. And then I fought the 5'8", 260 pound, like Olympic judo champions, like sambo champions, like gnarly. And then Marlos Kunin, who was the Strike Force light before Cyborg. I mean, I knocked her out when I went back to Japan. But I was fighting 3 or 4.
OG shit. They don't do stuff like that anymore. Invicta tried to bring it back when they did their tournaments.
They couldn't. These girls won last.
Not even that, but there's so many regulations now.
There's a lot of regulations.
They don't let you do that anymore.
It's too, and you know, there's some dogs that would do it, but it's like, hey, my first fight, I didn't even probably know it was this. 1 round, 15 minutes.
Oh, I would prefer that. I think. I mean, not if I didn't know ahead of time. I would need to know that before I win.
Are you kidding? It was fucking wild. And the men had a 30-minute round. This was when they were fighting with no gloves. Like Keith Herring was on that. Gilbert Ivel was in Aruba. So like, I got $1,000, and then they tried to have me killed against like this crazy fucking lady. I got a draw with her, but I was like, I thought I was badass. Yeah. Okay, I really thought when I was 21, right? Because I was like so. Here and all of the Dutch are going, she's gonna beat your ass. You guys can't get. It was like one of the first times, like I was really like, what am I doing?
You're like, this is crazy. This crazy.
Grown ass woman. I was a kid.
Yeah.
She's gonna beat my ass.
How many times I've thought that? My second pro fight, I've only been finished 1 time in my career. Yeah. And that was when I got cut and I was just bleeding. Oh yeah. I was literally 19 fighting like a 35-year-old. Yeah. Something crazy like
grown
that.
Woman.
And I was like, oh my God, like. I go back. I look back now, and at the time I was like, I don't give a. And now I look back, and I'm like, I was a baby. Like I was such a baby.
Wait till you get in your 30s. It'll make even more sense.
I feel like I'm gonna be happier in my 30s.
But go to Japan. Just go to. I'm trying to get back there this year, by the way, because I fucking love it so much.
I've heard it's just amazing. Yeah, especially like the MMA like fan base. I've heard they're just like they appreciate their fighters, like
all of it. Yeah, it's just amazing. But if people want to follow me, I'm like not big on Facebook. Like I have a Facebook, but at Coach COACH Toughill TOUGHILL.
We can put it on the screen too, so they can see
on the screen. Yeah. If you're local and you're watching this is good too. You're an MMA fighter or boxing, and you want to fight, hit me up. Reach out to me because I'm looking for like local. I really want to build like our homegrown local scene, guys. You know, Orange County preferably. I like LA, and we do Riverside too. San Diego, we don't focus on, right? Because they're not hometown. But, you know, you reach out to me, have your coach reach out to me. If you got a buddy who wants to fight, you know, send me your information. So let's get you on a card. And if you're around, I don't know when this is going out, but April 4th, which is next Thursday at the Hangar, follow us, Fight Club OC. And awesome.
It's the next show, right?
Yeah, it's next show. So
we'll probably upload this tomorrow, so they'll see it in time.
All right.
But that's Erin Toughill, everybody. One of my day ones, one of the most badass people, and not badass women, just badass person in general that I know. Next podcast will be soon, the 3rd episode. I have some fun people lined up, so make sure you stay tuned. I'll be posting my UFC 300 thoughts and predictions pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. But thank you.